Welcome to the bait.
Good to be here.
There's a very specific visceral feeling that I think we all get when we open a certain app on our phones. It's this mix of professional obligation, a little bit of anxiety, and let's be honest, a significant amount of cringe. We are talking about the only social network that you essentially have to be on if you want to participate in the modern white-collar economy. We are, of course, talking about LinkedIn.
It's the vegetable of social media. You don't really want to eat it, but you know you're supposed to because it's good for you.
That is the perfect analogy. But, to simply call it a social network almost feels like calling a skyscraper a house. It's just structurally different. I mean, since Microsoft acquired the platform for $26.2 billion back in 2016, it has solidified itself as the dominant global infrastructure for professional life.
Dominant is certainly the right word. We're looking at a platform that, as of November 2023, claimed over a billion members. It's a behemoth. It generated $17.8 billion in revenue in 2025. But I think we need to look past the financial success and ask what this dominance actually does to the workforce. The question isn't whether LinkedIn is successful for Microsoft. The question is, what is this dominance doing to us, to the way we work, and in the way we present ourselves?
Exactly. And that brings us to the core tension we're debating today. Is LinkedIn a democratizing utility that creates transparency and efficiency in the global labor market? Or, as I suspect you'll argue, is it a discriminatory gatekeeper that commodifies professional identity and actually exacerbates inequality?
That is the question. I'm taking the position that LinkedIn acts as a mechanism of surveillance and stratification. I mean, through algorithmic filtering and corporate compliance, specifically around censorship and privacy, it fundamentally undermines the interests of the actual workers it claims to serve. It masquerades as a community, but it functions like a marketplace where the workers are the inventory.
And I, of course, am taking the opposing view. I believe LinkedIn is a vital engine for economic opportunity. By efficiently connecting skills with needs through its economic graph and allowing individuals to, control their professional narrative, it reduces the friction that has historically plagued the job market. It's about visibility.
Well, let's get into it. Why don't you lay out your case? Why is this corporate behemoth actually the hero of the story?
Gladly. My argument really rests on the evolution of the platform. You have to remember what job hunting used to be. It was the old boys club. It was who you know in the most literal exclusionary sense. Or, it was sending a paper resume into a black hole and just praying someone read it. LinkedIn changed that by digitizing the reputation economy. The guiding vision here is what former CEO Jeff Weiner called the economic graph.
That always sounded like a marketing buzzword to me.
It sounds like one, I'll grant you, but the ambition is actually staggering. The goal was to map every job, every skill, every company, and every professional globally. The idea is that if you can map the economy digitally, you can make it more efficient. You can remove the geographic and social barriers. You replace the country club handshake with a searchable, data-driven marketplace.
That sounds very noble in theory, a perfect map of human capital.
It is noble in practice, too. I mean, look at the utility of features like Open for Business, which launched globally in 2019. This allowed freelancers and small business owners to be discovered by clients they never would have met otherwise. Or consider the Apply with LinkedIn plugin, launched way back in 2011. It standardized the digital resume, letting potential employees apply for positions using their profile data instantly. It empowers personal branding. As the expert Sandra Long has noted, the platform allows users to actively manage their unique value and position themselves to be found by search engines. It puts the control of the career narrative back in the hands of the individual.
I see why you think that, but let me offer a different perspective. You call it personal branding, but I call it coerced performance. The platform forces workers into this performative, public-facing persona that benefits recruiters far more than it benefits job seekers. It creates a dynamic where you aren't a person, you are a bundle of keywords to be optimized. This leads to what sociologist Ofer Sharon calls the filtration effect.
The filtration effect.
Yes, it's where merit takes a backseat to how well you can game the profile optimization algorithms. If you don't use the specific buzzwords that the algorithm favors, You are, for all intents and purposes, invisible. You're filtered out before a human ever sees you. It forces everyone into this hyper-positive, crushing-it persona that feels incredibly artificial.
I think gaming is a harsh word for optimizing. Clarity is important.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why. The efficiency you praise comes at a massive cost to privacy and fairness. This company has a history of aggressive data practices that treat user connections as corporate property. Do you remember the Perkins lawsuit?
Vaguely. That was about emails, correct?
It was a hijacking. LinkedIn settled for $13 million because they were accessing user email address books to send spam invitations that look like they came personally from the user. Friend X wants you to join LinkedIn. They were exploiting personal relationships just to grow their network. That's not empowering. That's exploitation. And we can't ignore the monopoly status. Because they're the only game in town, they can enforce arbitrary standards. Look at the quiet removal of the diversity, equity, and inclusion pages in January 2025, or the removal of protections for transgender users regarding misgendering and dead naming later that year. It proves they prioritize corporate comfort and, frankly, political expediency over user inclusion.
I want to circle back to the filtration effect you mentioned, because I think it misinterprets the technological sophistication at play here. This isn't about excluding people arbitrarily, it's about matching. In 2014, LinkedIn announced its Glean search architecture. This is the engine under the hood.
How does that actually work for the person sitting at home looking for a job, though?
Well, it allows for incredibly granular filtering. A recruiter could search for engineers with Hadoop experience in Brazil. Now, Hadoop is a specific software framework. Before this technology, finding that specific person in a specific region might have taken a month of phone calls and headhunters. Now it takes seconds.
But does that granularity help the worker, or does it just help the boss who wants a specific cog for the machine?
It helps both by reducing what economists call information frictions. If I have a skill and you have a need, we should be able to find each other. And there's empirical evidence for this. A 2019 working paper by Wheeler and others, it focused on job seekers in South Africa, found that LinkedIn training increased employment by approximately 10%.
10%?
Yes, 10%. In the world of labor economics, that is a massive number. That is a significant, tangible impact on people's livelihoods. It didn't just help them network, it helped them get hired. Furthermore, you have lists like top companies and top startups that guide talent toward high-growth areas, efficiently allocating human capital where it is most needed.
That's a compelling argument, and I won't argue against someone getting a job in South Africa. But have you considered the broader sociological impact? You cite one study on training, but let's look at the 2019 study by McDonald, Demarin, and others. They found that the platform creates a bifurcated winner-takes-all job market.
In what sense? A winner-takes-all market usually implies something like a celebrity culture?
It's worse than that. They found that recruiters use LinkedIn primarily to poach passive, high-skilled workers, people who are already employed and aren't even looking. Those are the winners. Meanwhile, active job seekers, particularly those in low or general-skilled positions, are relegated to these hyper-competitive job boards. It creates a two-tier system. If you are on LinkedIn actively looking for a job, you're already signaling that you might be damaged goods compared to the passive candidate. The economic graph isn't a map of opportunity for everyone. It's a tool for managers to consolidate power. This echoes concerns raised in the ACM-CIG Group Bulletin as far back as 2001, warning that a lack of design focus for blue-collar workers would just concentrate power in the hands of management.
I would frame that differently. The platform rewards high-value skills, which in turn encourages upskilling. It pushes the workforce to improve.
But the platform actively discourages the very networking behaviors it claims to support. Look at the 2018 analysis by Rhee, Huang, and Tan regarding referrals. Logic suggests, and your whole argument relies on this, that connecting with an employee at a target company would help you get a job.
Right, that is networking 101.
Well, they found that connecting with employees actually decreased the likelihood of a referral.
That seems completely counterintuitive. Why would I connect with someone if not to help them?
They called it competition self-protection. Employees viewed the connection not as a friend, but as a threat, a competitor for their own standing or resources within the company. So they blocked them out or just refused to refer them. The structure of the platform pits workers against each other instead of fostering a genuine community. It turns your potential allies into rivals.
I think that study reveals more about human nature than it does a platform flaw. Insecurity exists in every office, with or without an app. But let's go back to the idea of personal branding, which you dismissed as coerced performance. In the modern era, a personal brand is a necessity. It's not a vanity project. Career coach Pamela Green describes the personal brand as an emotional experience you want people to have. LinkedIn provides the canvas for that.
A canvas with very strict lines and only corporate-approved colors.
I disagree. The platform has evolved. Originally, it was for people who already knew each other. It was a closed network. But after the 2017 interface update, it encouraged broader networking, allowing up to 30,000 connections. It democratized content creation through the publishing platform. Sure, you have the influencers program with people like Bill Gates or Ariana Huffington, but anyone can demonstrate expertise. You can write an article about supply chain logistics and have it read by thousands of people in your industry. That just wasn't possible before.
But this democratization is an illusion because of the pressure to conform. I want to go back to Afra Sharon's research on the filtration effect. The platform forces users to construct these very specific narratives. If you have diverse interests or a nonlinear career path, maybe you took time off to care for a parent or you traveled, the algorithm punishes you. You become a risky anomaly. You're invisible. You are pressured to conform to the logic of the site just to be seen.
But that logic is simply clarity. It helps people understand what you do.
It's coercion. Look at the profile's strength meter. You might see it as a helpful nudge. I see it as a tool to extract more data. Add your school to reach all-star status. It is gamification designed to make you surrender more and more privacy. And this branding you speak of is incredibly fragile. It is subject to corporate whims. In 2022, there were reports of accounts being removed without any prior notice. And I mentioned this earlier, but the 2025 policy shift, removing protections against misgendering and debt naming, is a perfect example. You can spend years building a brand, and the platform can suddenly decide that your very identity is no longer protected, making the environment hostile for transgender users. That isn't empowerment. That is profound vulnerability.
I admit that content moderation and policy are difficult areas, and I won't defend every single decision they make. But let's talk about the data itself. You view data extraction as inherently predatory, but I see it as a value exchange. LinkedIn uses data, specifically what they call the knowledge graph, to train machine learning models. These models infer properties to help users find relevant updates and connections. This isn't data for data's sake.
How does that actually help the user, though?
It powers things like the LinkedIn Learning Career Hub, which launched in October 2025. That tool uses the data to identify skill gaps. It basically says, okay, you want to be a product manager? Here are the 3 skills you are missing, and here is the training to get them. That is a direct reinvestment of data into user utility. It helps you level up.
I just come at it from a different way. I see a timeline of security failures that suggest they simply cannot be trusted with that data, no matter how helpful they claim to be.
Every major tech company has faced security challenges. It's an arms race against hackers.
But LinkedIn's record is egregious. In 2012, 6.4 million password hashes were stolen because they weren't salted, a basic cryptographic standard. Then in 2016, 117 million credentials went up for sale. In 2021, we saw scraping incidents affecting hundreds of millions of records. And it's not just hackers, it's the company's own features.
They implemented two-factor authentication in 2013 to address those early issues. They learned.
After the horse had bolted. And what about the intro feature for iPhone in 2013? Security firm Bishop Fox characterized it as resembling a man-in-the-middle attack because it rerouted your emails through LinkedIn servers. They were literally intercepting your private emails to inject their content. That is a fundamental violation of security hygiene. And as recently as 2024, they had to suspend the use of UK user data for AI training because the Information Commissioner's Office pushed back. They just opted users in quietly. They only seem to stop overreaching when they're caught.
Security is an ongoing battle, and I do believe they have hardened on the platform significantly since those early days. But I want to pivot to the global nature of this infrastructure. We live in a complex geopolitical world. LinkedIn has had to navigate that, particularly in markets like China.
Navigate is a very polite way of saying collaborate with censorship.
It's about being pragmatic. In 2014, Jeff Weiner acknowledged they would have to censor content in China. His argument was that the benefits of connecting professionals in China to the world outweighed the concerns. He believed in engagement. And when compliance became impossible due to increasing requirements from the Chinese government, they did the responsible thing. They shut down the social aspects in China in 2021 and eventually the local job app in 2023. They tried to engage, and when it became untenable, they withdrew.
But they were complicit for years. In September 2021, right before they pulled out, they blocked the profiles of U.S. journalists in China, people like Bethany Allen Ibrahimian, because they mentioned sensitive topics. They were actively enforcing the Great Firewall. But it goes beyond censorship to outright espionage.
Platforms can't always control who uses them for nefarious purposes.
But LinkedIn is uniquely vulnerable. French and German intelligence, the BFV, have issued specific warnings about Chinese spies using fake LinkedIn profiles to target thousands of officials. They pose as headhunters or think tank researchers. And it's not just China. The Edward Snowden leaks revealed Operation Socialist.
Operation Socialist?
Yes. It was an operation where GCHQ, that's British intelligence, used a fake LinkedIn page to infiltrate the Belgian telecoms giant Bellicom. They tricked employees into clicking a link that looked like a LinkedIn profile to gain access to the network. The platform is a vector for state surveillance and manipulation. It is not a neutral meeting place. It is a hunting ground for intelligence agencies because we all trust that professional veneer.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because you're blaming the tool for the actions of bad actors. You can use a telephone to plan a crime. We don't ban telephones. Any communication network can be exploited by intelligence agencies. That doesn't negate the value it provides to the billion people who aren't spies.
But the structure of the tool, the reliance on trust, this gated access approach, makes the deception so much easier. We lower our guard on LinkedIn in a way we just don't on Twitter or Facebook.
We have covered a lot of ground, from the granular algorithms of the economic graph to international espionage. I want to summarize my position. Despite the valid criticisms regarding data handling and the complexities of global operations, LinkedIn remains the premier digital platform for professional existence. The ability to build a network of weak ties, those second and third degree connections, provides unprecedented transparency and mobility. The flaws you point out are solvable technical or policy issues, but the fundamental utility of a global, searchable labor market is indispensable. We can't go back to the days of paper resumes and local job boards.
And I will maintain that while we cannot go back, we must look critically at what we have built. LinkedIn has monopolized professional reputation. It forces workers into a system that commodifies their data and enforces a performative conformity that stifles diversity. And the academic findings are clear. It exacerbates the divide between the high-skilled winners and everyone else. It is a system designed to help recruiters extract value, not to help workers find meaning. As the old adage goes, if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. And on LinkedIn, the worker is the product being sold.
It is certainly a topic that touches every one of our professional lives. Thank you for this rigorous exchange.
Thank you. It's a conversation we need to keep having.
And to our listeners, the material contains even more depth on these issues, including the specific studies we cited. We encourage you to dig in and draw your own conclusions about the role this platform plays in your working life. Thanks for listening to the debate.